Hey there everyone, it's GG Sober Son. March 17th, AA Thought for the Day. AA also helps us to hang on to sobriety by having regular meetings so that we can associate with other alcoholics who have come through that same door in the wall, by encouraging us to tell the story of our own sad experiences with alcohol, and by showing us how to help other alcoholics. AA keeps us sober. Our attitude toward life changes from one of pride and selfishness to one of humility and gratitude. Am I going to step back through that door in the wall to my old helpless, hopeless, drunken life? A day at a time, hopefully not. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about how they kind of felt that, constantly identifying with or keeping our identity grounded in this negatively perceived title of alcoholic was not a good thing, kind of thing, right? And I can understand that from the perspective of someone who hasn't suffered, or someone who's in denial as well, right? They don't want to acknowledge that they have a problem, so they perceive it as a negative title, where those of us who have been relieved of a hopeless state of mind and body can, it's not a negative thing. It's just a way of identifying that we're all in this together, that we're all in the same boat, and we have this common malady, right? And those of us who have been several years without picking up a drink continue to come back because it's a place of hope. Meetings are a bright spot in our lives, it says, in working with others. Frequent contact with newcomers and one another and others is a bright spot in our life. So we don't see that identification as an alcoholic as a negative thing. Meditation for the day. Withdraw into the calm of communion with God. Rest in that calm and peace. When the soul finds its home of rest in God, then it is that real life begins. Only when you are calm and serene can you do good work. Emotional upsets make you useless. The eternal life is calmness, and when you enter into that, then you live as an eternal being. Calmness is based on complete trust in God. Nothing in this world can separate you from the love of God. And complete calmness, I think, is an ideal, but few of us ever get there. And I know in early recovery, just the fact that I was emotionally upset made me angry, like I blew it. And that thought that I failed because I got emotionally upset only compounded the issue, whatever I was dealing with, only made it worse. And it's just like, look, we're all human, we're going to make mistakes. I'm not, just because I get sober and I get a relationship with God, do I suddenly get poofed and become a monk, that sort of somebody can slap me in the face, I can just take it, right? And there are other things short of being slapped in the face that seem like slaps in the face. Even my higher power had a righteous anger for, people in the temple that were trying to set up roadblocks from the everyday normal people, more requirements to get close to God. He got angry with that. That was righteous anger. And it wasn't just like he got angry and flipped the table, He actually took the time to fashion a whip. And then, chase all the animals out. Right? Because they were using that as a roadblock. Basically, you can get to God, but you've got to go through us first. And God's like, no, there is no block between people and me. Stop trying to create more hurdles. And I like that. I'm grateful that there's that image of him getting righteously angry. See, our emotions are information, to stir us to action in some cases, in most cases. Either we need to do something different, Prayer for the day. I pray that I may wear the world like a loose garment. I pray that I may keep serene at the center of my being. Yeah, a loose garment. I mean, again, these are our ideals, something to meditate on. We'll never get there completely. It says in the book, we are sure that God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. And that's kind of a promise. If we stay plugged into him, in most cases we can be. And that's okay. I mean, and it's okay to get upset sometimes. It's what we do with it, though. If we lash out in self-righteous anger, unlike my higher power, then I'm going to be in collision with others. And it doesn't reflect well on my recovery. Or, what does it say in the book? It could later cut us off from being useful in the future to that same person that we're going off on. You know what I mean? There was a guy yesterday, I think it was yesterday, went to the grocery store, and he parked all cattywampus, taking up 2 spots. It was impossible to even park close to him and get in the spot. And as I was walking, I parked further away, and then as I was walking, he comes out and gets in his car. I just kind of look at him and smile. I don't know if he noticed, but there's a part of me, and maybe even the same me a couple of years ago might have told him about it. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, what's the deal? Or just stopped and looked back over my shoulder, like, down at the lines kind of thing, to let him know I disapprove and that he did something wrong. You know what I mean? But I just had to sort of laugh at that thought that cropped up, right? That I could have acted on. But I was more laughing at myself at being the parking lot police. Yes, I had to park a little further away. Big deal. Am I so important? Was I in that big of a hurry? I wasn't in no hurry, But, I was going to tell him off kind of thing. And that's what came to my mind. For society. For society's sake, I should let him know that he should do a better job of parking in the future kind of thing. And it's so crazy how these things, I was miffed more than anything, but it could have blown into this big, hot, hairy deal that could have ruined my day. You know what I mean? So it's better that I just focus on, right? I'm not going to try, I'm not going to arrive there, but focus on wearing the world as a loose garment. And every upset or frustration is an opportunity to practice the principles and get closer to my higher power, right? Because, as it says in the 10th step in the big book, when these crop up, selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, or fear, and I know you hear me beat this drum a lot, we ask God at once to remove it at once. We ask God at once to remove it. We talk to somebody about it, make amends if necessary. Then we turn our thoughts to someone we can help. So I have found my purpose in life is in service. And so if I can be of service, that takes me out of me. And I find more fulfillment and purpose in life. So, and God has placed me in a position to be, I'm uniquely qualified to deal with other alcoholics, and I'm also, because of the simple kit of spiritual tools that I've been given in AA, I'm uniquely positioned to be an encouragement to people at my church, oddly enough. You know what I mean? Because I used to think that anybody that goes to church must be spiritually enlightened. But man, there are a lot of hurting people, and there are a lot of people at different levels in their quest for meaning and purpose in their life. And so, I found myself involved in the prayer group at my church, and that's so far from what I would normally think I'd be. I never feel qualified, you know what I mean? But I'm becoming more comfortable in doing that. And most of what I do for people who come for prayer on Sunday mornings is just encourage them, because they're taking a step in the right direction, they're aiming up if they're coming for prayer. They're looking for help. They may feel beat down. And that's why, because the thinking for most people is, all we can do is pray, like it's the last resort. Man, if it becomes our first action whenever these crop up, any kind of unwanted emotion, we don't even have to define it. But whenever a stirring emotion comes up, we can hand it over. You know what I mean? And when we feel sad or we're grieving or something like that, we don't have to try to drown it or cover it up or mask it with food or drugs or alcohol. We can turn to our higher power and just sit in it, right? Because I'll tell you, when I was 98, so I was about 6 years sober when my dad died of alcoholism at the age of 55, and we were reading about the guy who quit drinking in his 30s and retired early at 55 and was dead within a year, right? Because he started drinking again. We were talking about that, and my dad died at 55, and it was that grief hit me so hard because I had never been to a funeral until the year that he died. And his was the third within 6 months, and it just crippled me, man. And I thought that I had to be able to get over it because I had gone for long periods of time in my adult life without not like deliberately not talking to him, but I was living overseas and it was expensive to call or whatever, and I was just getting on with my life. And but I realize now that it hurt him because when I finally called him, he was like, "Buddy, I was ready to call the Red Cross to find out what the hell happened to you," And I was like, "Geez, Dad, don't overreact much," and because I didn't think anything about it. I was just getting on with my life. had a new family and so on and so forth. And, but those were the things that I really needed to make amends to him for. And I didn't think about doing that until after he was gone. So I just wrote a letter and made amends that way. But going back to the grief, I felt like I shouldn't be grieving like I was, because it was done, he was gone. And I'd just get on with my life, and I couldn't, man. It hurt so bad. And so I was doing all kinds of things, acting out with other things, and eating mass quantities, and indulging in bitterness, right? And resentment and judgment, all that stuff, all that. Rather than crying it out, I stuffed it down, and it all came back up as bitterness and resentment. And it didn't end well. I did not drink, but I ended up with an Article 15, in trouble in the military, got arrested for assault, things like that. Okay, we know you're there. Canadian goose. I think he thinks I'm gonna feed him. But anyway, I love y'all. Keep coming back. Thanks for letting me share. Look up. Aim up. Rise up. Oops. Pretty good. There it is. Love ya.